What's up YouTube, it's Alex from Texas. I wanted to do a quick video on what I believe is the most common beginner amateur paint job, which is single stage paint, specifically Summit's single stage paint with a Harbor Freight gun in your garage. At the end of the video, I'll do a product review of both these guns, both of which are from Harbor Freight. I'll also give a list of kind of the things I learned the hard way, and I'm going to start this video in reverse. So it's going to start off with the last video I made as far as what PSI and what pressure, or I'm sorry, what fluid level and my success. Then I'll do all of the failures and then the quick list of tips and then the product review. So I hope you enjoy it. Alright guys, well here it is. I'm actually really impressed for what it is. The only place I got a little bit of orange peel was up here on top, if you could see it, and I think the only reason for that is because my overlapping was real thin. I don't think I overlapped right here at all. I think I just came across then immediately started back. Somehow, usually if you see the other videos, I go from here to the middle, but this one I decided to go all the way across, kind of on the whim, and it threw me off a little bit. I think that's why I forgot to overlap there, but I mean, the reflections are great, especially over here in the corner. So you can also see here where I missed it a little bit, but I mean, the Harbor Freight purple gun is way better than, well, I'll do a little product review here in a little bit, but the automotive couple set. So I got a little bit of paint left. I'm going to try some other stuff, and then I'll probably do a video on cut and buff. All right, thanks for watching, guys. All right. Hopefully this is the last time I have to spray this. Just to kind of recap, we're shooting with the purple Harbor Freight gun, Summit single stage black paint. I've got it at 35 PSI at 2.5 turns out. 2 3/4 got runs, 2 even. I got some dry spots. I noticed in the last video that I was pretty close for my gun to the panel, but I don't know, I actually got pretty good results, so we're just going to stick with that and we'll see how this looks. As far as review goes, I started off with this gun. You would think, this is the Harbor Freight paint, automotive paint set, professional automotive HVLP. You would think, or at least I thought that, because since it was, 5 times as much as this one, that it'd be better. But these are absolute crap. Don't waste your time. Buy the $10, $15 one, it's much better. The problem is, one, all these seals wear out. This seal wears out and you get paint dripping all over your fingers, and anytime you're doing a hood, you get drip. Let's see, the spray pattern is extremely sensitive. You turn it just a hair and you go from a wide fan to nothing. The O-ring in here goes out, so it just completely siphons air or loses air the whole time. I actually ended up, there's a steel rod that comes up and there's a little ball that pinches off a hole, and that's how it adjusts the fuel, or I'm sorry, the air pressure. I went ahead and just cut it off and just sealed it because I have a pressure regulator right here and then an air water separator. So these are garbage. This one actually was pretty awesome for a while. Specifically being, I guess go back to this one real quick. This is a true HVLP gun. It only gets up to 20 PSI no matter what you do. I mean, unless you're spraying it, you have the spray pattern completely closed. It's going to be, you can maybe get up to 30 PSI. Other than that, you're maxing out at 20, 21 PSI. Unfortunately, I figured out the hard way. I painted my whole truck. In fact, I'll give you a bunch of, the reason why I'm doing this video is because I totally jacked up my truck and orange peeled the whole thing, and I guess I learned the harder way, so hopefully you can learn from my mistakes. But couldn't get up to a higher PSI. Went and bought this gun after I saw all the reviews, and at 35 PSI, at 2.5 turns out, I got great results. I mean, mirror finish. I went and bought, I got a hood from the junkyard, and some paint, which the paint I'm using is single stage Summit black, jet black paint. So I got really good mirror results. Later on I'll do a video on cutting and buffing. Yeah, for right now, this gun's great. I did a video as far as how to disassemble it and how to put it back together, clean it out, and everything like that. So I'm trying to think of anything else I might have missed besides the fact that these are just garbage. Make sure you have air pressure gauge on it. Make sure you have an air water separator. I also learned at the bottom of a lot of air compressors there's a nozzle. An air compressor in the tank will accumulate water. So at the bottom, unscrew it, let the water drain out. Let's see, what else? I can't really think of anything. I mean, this gun's great. It's awesome. I really, really like it. Within the first, few minutes of using it, I realized it was a much better gun. I tried 2 3/4 turns out, and I had runs. I tried 2 turns out, to dial it back, and I got dry spray. I tried it, at 2.5, and that's where I felt comfortable. I don't know if that's just because I'm shooting single stage. I've never shot 2 stage. It could be thinner. 2 stage, single stage might be a little thicker. That might be why the higher PSI is better. And maybe you can use these guns with 2 stages, but I'm an amateur, so I'm just trying to figure it out as I go. All right, so I forgot to talk about this little gun right here. I kind of got sidetracked on the bigger one. It's actually a really good gun, and it's honestly what led me to this one. For some reason, you can get 35, 40 PSI on the detail gun, whereas you can only get up to 20 PSI. So I went in, and I was just practicing, or I had a little spot I needed to hit, and I tried shooting at 35 PSI, and I realized that my results were 10 times better. There was almost no orange peel. So I figured my problem, because I thought I had them all solved before, wasn't, the way I was shooting or the way I was mixing paint or, where I was shooting, but it was actually I just didn't have enough pressure. So this gun was actually pretty great. The only problem is that after maybe 2 or 3 times, you start to get the same problem that this one had. This O-ring wears out, this O-ring wears out, this, et cetera, they all wear out. So, I mean, it's a cool gun, and it works for, 2 or 3 times. Unfortunately, the feeder, or I guess the cup, has plastic threads, so they kind of wear out. And what was happening is that as I was shooting at such a high PSI, air would come in through the I guess strip threads and through here, and I would get a sputter pattern. So for 2 or 3 times, this one was great. The cool thing about these is that you have adjustable nozzles, but I mean, when the gun doesn't work, what's it really matter? Alright, so real quick, guys, I wanted to do a real quick video on how to correctly disassemble this Harbor Freight purple gun. This has been disassembled and reassembled quite a few times, so it's going to be a little easier for me. Some of it, when it comes out of the box, it's actually pretty hard to break down some of the things, but it's nothing that, a vice grip, or not a vice grip, some channel locks can't fix. If it comes down to that, make sure you wrap like some towels or something around it so you don't damage the threads. This thing comes real dirty from the factory. So first off, you want to take off this piece. Probably won't come off that easy. Take off that piece. These are going to be filled with gunk, so you want to clean out all these holes. You can take out the actual needle and spring needle, and a lot of people probably stop right there, but what I realized is that you can actually get back in there. You can take this whole thing off, and what you're going to need is a 3/8 Allen wrench. Get in there. Try not to damage the threads on the inside, because again, this screws in to that, and then this screws into the outside. So just take it, break it. Again, it wasn't that easy for me the first time, but what I found out was actually most of the nasty lubricant and gunk was actually back here on the inside of that and all through here. This little white guy comes off, and then from there, I mean, I went ahead and took these out, mostly just because you got to put this plumber's tape around the threads to keep it from bleeding air. And then when you put it together, it's real simple. Just reverse the process. Make sure that all the lubricant is out of it. This is pretty easy. This little black knob goes right back in here. Put some plumber's tape around this. Thread that in. Hold that in place. Put some plumber's tape around this. That feeds into there. Actually, the first 2 or 3 times I put this together and sprayed with it, when I went to disassemble it, this was backed out about that far, and I'm sure that couldn't be good. So this last round, I actually put an extra amount of plumber's tape on it, wrapped a towel around it, and then just really got in there with some channel locks, and just to make sure it wouldn't back out, so all the air was going through the right ways. And then, I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory from there. Needle in the hole. There you go. Spring. Yeah, and you're done. And I would do this every time you're done, unless you just don't care, because I mean they are $10, $15 guns if you want to just trash them afterwards. But I've used this gun probably 6 times, and I mean, if you calculate that, I mean that's $60 right there. So that's how you disassemble it. I'm gonna actually disassemble it, or I'm gonna disassemble it now. Put all the thread lock on there right now. That way I don't have to do it next time I'm ready to paint. All right. Alright, so if you haven't picked it up by now, I'm obviously a beginner. I've painted one car and one hood, and I painted it about 6 times before I actually got it right. So just want to be clear, I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm learning this as I go. So if you're a professional, be happy to correct me in the comments, but don't beat me up too much. So first off, let's see, it's going to take you longer than you think it's going to. It took me 2 weekends to do my truck. Then again, I have some huge dents. It's a big truck. I also had some big holes that I had to weld in patch panels and grind them down and bondo them. So it took a little while longer. If you've just got a car that you're scuffing and shooting, then you can do it in a weekend easy, especially if it's just a car, not a full-size truck like mine. Second off, clean your gun as soon as you're done with it. If you don't, you might as well just throw it away, especially if you let it sit overnight. Don't even waste your time. Just go buy another one, because it's going to take you hours to clean it. I did learn that acetone is way better than paint thinner when you're cleaning a gun. It seemed like the paint thinner kind of just made it turn into like this nasty gel oil, and it didn't want to let go of the metal, whereas acetone broke it down and kept it from sticking too much. It seemed like most of my orange peel was from bad overlapping. So, you look at your paint sheet, it'll either say 75 or 50%. Most likely it's going to say 50% overlap. I got in some trouble a few times where I'd paint a panel and I'd look back at it, and I'd see like a dry spot, and I'd go hit it again. Just let it go. You're going to do more than one coat. You can come back to it. It's fine. After the second, third coat, you're not even going to see it. This might be specific with single stage paints. Almost anything can be fixed with cut and buff. If you're painting a car for the first time, you're going to get orange peel somewhere. Okay? It's just going to happen. What I did on my truck is I took 1200 with wet sanding, 1200 grit, then 1500 grit, and then I just buffed it with a buffer. I did it with a heavy pad with compound, and then I did it with a fine pad with polishing compound, and it looked like a brand new, like, professional paint job. So let's see, a lot of people go up to 2,000, 3,000, but I didn't really care that much. It looked good for what I was doing. Plus I was doing white, which hides a lot of stuff. So let's see, what else? In your compressor, and maybe not all compressors have this, but mine did, and it's a big deal when you're painting. On the very bottom there was a little nut that you could screw loose, and over a while your air compressor accumulates water or fluid inside of it, and there's this nasty buildup of just gunk. Open it up before you paint, and with a little bit of pressure in the tank, and it'll shoot all of it out. That way it's not going through your lines and going through your gun. Make sure you have an air water separator before your gun. The way I set mine up is it was gun, air pressure regulator, and then air water separator. So just kind of keep that in mind. Let's see what else. Flash times. I know this sounds like a dumb statement, but flash times are extremely vital. Earlier, like I said, whenever I would paint and then I would notice that I kind of missed a spot with my overlapping, I'd go back and hit it like maybe 5 minutes later. I'd start on the truck, go to the end, and I'd come back, saw a soft spot, and I'd hit it again. That is probably what was one of my biggest issues, is that I was spraying back over paint that hadn't flashed yet. So while the first layer is trying to dry, and flash times, from what I understand, are just the solvent dissolving out of the paint, I'm putting another layer on top of it. So those bubbles from the first layer, the solvent, is evaporating through the second or third layer and causing it to just orange peel like crazy. Um, Activator, there's going to be 3 separate kinds of activator that you're going to buy. It can be fast, medium, or slow. Doing a little research online, from what I heard, is that if you buy the slow activator and you're not in a hurry, you can it'll give it a little bit more time to level out. Whereas with the faster drying, if you have any orange peel, it's going to set faster. With the slow activator, it gives it a little bit more time to level out. Let's see what else. Oh, if you prep your surface right, you don't need fisheye eliminator. Make sure you wash it completely, then go back over it with wax and grease remover. I think I got a whole jug of it at O'Reilly's or AutoZone for I think $7, and one of them lasted me the whole car. I mean, so what I would recommend and what I figured out on the hood is go over it with a wax and grease, or wash it, go over it with wax and grease remover, and then just keep doing that until your blue cloth, your shop towel, or whatever you're using is clean. There's nothing on it. Honestly, after the first time it was probably good. I'd go over it twice, and the second time I did it, the rag would be perfectly clean, and I didn't have any problems with fish eyes from then on. Let's see. If you're going down to bare metal, if you like, let's say you're doing some body work and you got to sand down through the paint, if you're fixing a dent or putting a hole or whatever, fixing a hole. If you're going down to bare metal, you have to use epoxy primer. This seals out any moisture. If you just do regular primer over the metal, water like from rain or whatever or some sort of moisture will eventually seep through it, and it'll create rust between the metal and the primer, and it'll just push your paint right off, and it's just a waste of time. So if you're going down to bare metal, go epoxy, then go regular primer, sand it down, and then go paint. What was I gonna say? Also, you need a different activator for every type of paint. So epoxy primer has its own activator, primer has its own activator, paint has its own activator. I was dumb. I ordered one thing activator in all my paints. Didn't realize they all needed something different, and so then I had to wait another week from Summit to get the rest of my activator. So they all need different activators. That's all I got. I hope this video was really helpful. I know it might have ran a little bit longer than I thought it did, but I really wish I would have had this video before I painted and jacked up my whole truck, because it's probably going to take me about a solid week to cut and buff the whole thing. It's going to take forever. So I really appreciate it, guys. Y'all have a good weekend. Hey, one last thing. When you're pouring your paint into your spray gun, don't forget to pour it through a strainer. I think this pack of 100 for 100 to 120 mesh was like $4, maybe $5 at Harbor Freight, and it just keeps a bunch of crap out of your paint. All right.